So the box office for Terminator Dark Fate Week 2 is in, and it's bad. When I say bad, I'm talking about epically bad, as in it's taking 10 days to earn what Terminator Genisys earned in 5. Where's all that buzz at? It's crazy to watch this because you know that it's going to end a franchise, and yet, looking at these newest iterations, maybe a franchise does need to end. I hate to say that, but if this is what things are going to look like in current year, maybe nostalgia is better. So hey there. So today I want to return to that wonderful world of train wrecks, and it has been a train wreck of epic proportions. Now in this, we're going to talk about the Terminator Dark Fate Week 2 numbers, and we're going to talk about also the numbers that came in before to give you an idea of where this movie's setting. Before we do, however, if you like this kind of content, make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you share videos because, as always, sharing is caring. And that umbrella guy loves you. Love? Yeah, it's nice to have it returned. Also, check out the links in the description because certain platforms, they don't share the love. One of those is the case of The Littlest Umbrella, our initial foray into comics, and also our message to gatekeepers. We can defy you. So in discussing the paltry performance of Terminator Dark Fate, I want to examine two things. First, I want to examine an article by Forbes because I think it points out a lot of interesting quandaries that you and I can discuss. It'll have numbers in that as well, and we'll examine as a second part more charting and whatnot, so we can talk about how this is faring and where this is going. And well, hint, it's going downhill, and it's going downhill fast. So, article, Friday box office, Terminator Dark Fate plunges 73% as Joker nears $1 billion. 73 freaking percent. I mean, if you think about that number, and they're talking Friday to Friday here, if you go from one Friday to another and you lose 3/4 of your audience, I mean, really think about that in a graph perspective. Think about how much you're losing there, and think about what your future expectations are. That looks bleak. You can see it in the descriptors too. As I've said many times, there's a few descriptors you don't want. You don't want bombs there because unless you're into munitions, you have a real problem if bombs pops up. Flops is another one. If you see that one out there and you're not talking about people jumping into pools or something of that nature, flop, yeah, your product, it is in trouble. And then plunges. I mean, if we're talking about plunges, where exactly does that come in? It's a good thing. Even in bathrooms and beyond, plunges, that is not something that I denote in a good way. So onward into the article. Even with better reviews, a stronger fan reception, and a decent B+ cinema grade, Terminator Dark Fate met Judgment Day on Friday. The $185 million Paramount Disney Fox release earned just $2.8 million, or negative 73%, on Friday to set the stage for a $10.21 million, or negative 65%, second week gross. Think about those numbers there. Again, Friday to Friday, like we said, 3/4 of a fall off. You're talking about audience that just aren't concerned. And then when you're talking about a second week gross at negative 65%, it's failure incarnate. What's amazing about this, too, is what they say at the very beginning. Even with better reviews, they're talking about critics there. As denoted in the second part, a stronger fan reception. So the critics, when they're going out and talking about this, nobody's listening. Maybe these companies could actually get in their head that they're influencers. They don't count anymore because people like myself, we can pick up microphones and tell you what we thought of something. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but we're doing this for free. You know, we don't have them leaning over us saying, yeah, you need to say it just like that. Just like that, baby. And also, that stronger fan reception. Now, when I went into the cinema, I didn't notice any ceiling fans, but still, that must be what they're talking about because they're surely not talking about people that are going out and giving this mixed reviews at best. And a decent B+ cinema score grade, I've never really cared what that goes with. So continuing even more with this, that will give Tim Miller directed and James Cameron produced sci-fi sequel just 47 $147.9 million in 10 days, or just slightly above what Terminator Genesis earned in 5 days in 2015 and what Terminator Rise of the Machines earned in its $43 million Friday through Sunday weekend in 2003. I mean, that says something about where this franchise is right now. They go on to try to alleviate a little bit of that pain by saying the 74% Friday to Friday drop isn't as bad as Batman vs. Superman at negative 81% or Dark Phoenix at negative 83%, but it's worse than any previous Terminator sequel, all of which opened on Thursday or Friday. I mean, like I said, franchise killer, and you can see it just clearly posted within something like this. Nothing else is going to change that fact. So now what I want to do is look at the overall earnings and then break that down into box office, domestic, and then into international to see exactly where the money's coming from. So as far as overall earnings, Terminator Dark Fate at this time has a domestic box office of $48,457,000. Now remember, the expectations for this movie within its opening 3 days were around $45 million. So earning that in 10 days, that says quite a bit about where this movie's setting. Internationally, you see only $94,600,000 earned, which is a paltry estimate considering the international numbers are what normally pick up Terminator movies. For a worldwide box office of $143,057,000. Again, looking at those numbers, really poor performance. Now, as far as domestic box office is concerned, I really like this chart because not only does it chart where the movie is and showcase a fall off after a certain portion, but it also gives you a shaded expectation and tells you if it trends toward the bottom of that, it's performing low within that type of movie. If it goes to the upper portion, it has good legs to stand on, and basically it may continue to do well. Now, the movie currently, like we said, is at $48,457,000. Now, this ranging chart, it goes from $46,234,000 to $60,978,000. So, if you look at the current performance of this, you're talking about only $2 million over the low point and almost $12 million away from the high point, aka doing very poorly. I mean, we're talking about a movie that is failing and failing spectacularly. Now, as far as international audiences are concerned, there are two charts that I really like to look at. The first, box office top 10 territories, it gives you a brief synopsis of how something is faring. And well, when you look at it, you can get an idea, especially in China, whether or not a movie is going to pass muster. And for Terminator, it has to there. In fact, China, it should be a dominant theme here. We should be talking about outdoing U.S. expectations, but if you look at this, you can tell we're not even talking about $41 million. So you not only have a low performance, but it's failing grade. When you look at the other territories within the top 10, you'll notice that all of them are under 10 million as well. So when you're comparing all of that, thinking about all of it together, that's not good. It's not good at all. Then when you break it down by box office summary per territory, you really get an idea of when something opened, how many theatrical engagements it's getting, maximum theater. So, it gives you an idea of how much could be in, how much it actually is opening in, and how much money is coming in for that. Looking at China as that example, you can see the release date on that, 10/31/2019. Opening weekend, $26,840,000. Give you theater numbers. Then they give you the total box office of $40,530,000 and the report date that came in on. So what does this all mean? Well, it means the name that brought it in, James Cameron, is a name that's taking it out, and that's a sad fate for a franchise. That word plunged, that word bombed, that word flopped, they all fit. And like I said, it's a dark day A dark fate, even. Sad to see the Terminator franchise go out this way. But anyhow, you tell me what you think. Like this kind of stuff, like I said at the beginning, make sure you're subbed. You know the drill by now. Check out the links too, because they help the channel out. And ending, I want to say that I thank you for showing up. So many people out there forget who empowers endeavors. That's you. These people were showing what happens when you forget that, never want to do that. So, thank you for showing up. That Umbrella Guy loves you, and we'll do this again soon.